Hello, my name is Angela Thomason. I am taking the class Organizational Behavior with Dr. Jason Hembry, and I am going to introduce my case study. My case study that I've chosen was California Casualty, and poor leadership, California Casualty and poor leadership. And just kind of explain my experience within the company, because this was a company that I was employed with for 10 years. The company started off with really good leadership. It actually started in 1914. And it started off as a company that offered workmen's compensation in 1914. In 1917, California Casualty began offering auto insurance, and in 1954, the company began to offer homeowners insurance. This company, up until 2018, was a family-run company. It was within the Brown family, started by Carl G. Brown was the person who founded California Casualty and insuring it under workman's comp, and it was passed down from generation to generation. The most recent Brown member is Carl G. Brown's great-great-grandson, Bo Brown, who took over the company, I believe it was in 2007. Under the Brown family, the company did have good leadership. My personal experience, whenever Bo Brown would come to the office to visit and catch up on how the Arizona location was doing, he would make an effort to walk around to every single cubicle in that office building. There were 27 customer service representatives, and there were about 30 claims adjuster representatives within that building. He either took notes or had a really good memory, because he would come around to everybody's cubicle. He would remember their name. He would remember personal things that he learned about them. Whenever he came to my cubicle, he would always refer to me by my first name. And he always asked me how my daughter was doing and referred to her by her name. It was just a very personable company, very personal leadership that we worked under. In 2014, California Casualty did celebrate their 100 years of service. There was a large banquet that was hosted. Gifts were given. We were given the day off to attend this banquet, and they really took care of their employees and made their employees feel welcomed, made their employees feel valued. And it was a really good company to work for. When I started with the company, I actually was in 2012, I actually interviewed for them, and it was a very lengthy interview process. And it was in that interview process that I realized this is a good company. This has good leadership, because I interviewed with not only my direct supervisor, but her supervisor as well. And then I even interviewed with the assistant manager. It was a 3-week process. And they paid very well. They were very competitive in pay. And once I was hired, training was a 6-week class. And after that 6 weeks, I was on the floor taking calls, but they didn't just throw me on the floor to take calls. They sat with me for 2 weeks. The management sat with me for 2 weeks and was there for me while I took my calls. That is profoundly different to how things are right now. Right now, it's a numbers game. Under the new leadership, it's all a numbers game. Training now, I believe, is 2 to 3 weeks, and they don't have the time or the space for management to sit with you once you graduate from the training classes. So after 2 to 3 weeks, you were thrown on the floor. And in insurance, there are a lot of underwriting rules that you have to memorize and understand. Otherwise, if you say something wrong to an employee on a phone, and it doesn't meet the underwriting guidelines, they have it in a recording that you said, yes, we will cover you for this situation, when in reality we won't. So that put the company in a situation where they were paying out on claims that they shouldn't be paying out on, simply because they didn't want to take the proper time to train their employees. Under Bo Brown, like I said, was really great leadership. My personal leader, my manager, Cheryl O'Connor, amazing manager, loved her to pieces, very personable. Every holiday we had a gift, a small gift, but it was a gift. And not only would she give a gift for myself, she would give a gift for my daughter. She was very understanding. California Casualty gave 4 weeks of paid time off. It was just a really good company under Bo Brown. However, In 2018, for one reason or another, we were never given an explanation. Bo Brown stepped down as CEO. And this is the first time in the company history that California Casualty was given into the incapable hands of a new CEO named Joe Volpone. And the change was immediate. Every employee in that building could feel that change immediately. Joe was about numbers. He wasn't about making his employees feel valued. He wasn't about the best interest of the customers. He was about numbers. And customers felt that. We were losing business left and right. Customers were quitting because underwriting rules were changing. We would got rid of the accident forgiveness program, even for employees customers who had been our customers for over 20 years. So not only did we have a low turnover rate for employees, we had a low turnover rate for customers under the Brown family. That all changed with Joe Volpone. Backtracking a little bit, one of the reasons why I was so invested in the company when I was interviewing is because of the low employee turnover, and because of the length of time that our customers had been insured with us. That was just a good sign to me that this was a good company. Under Joe Volpone, we started quitting left and right. Employees were quitting left and right, going for other insurance companies where they would feel valued and heard and not just like a number. Customers called in daily to complain about the changes. Like I had mentioned, accident forgiveness went away. We no longer did accident forgiveness. So all of these perks that California Casualty had was suddenly disappearing. Our underwriting rules had tightened. We pulled out of 40 states. California Casualty insured in 47 states. We pulled out of 40 of those states under Joe Volpone. When things didn't work out for Joe Volpone and we were losing business, and when the green flashes, which was the company updates, when the green flashes would come out, it was very disheartening to see our annual net income for the company was dropping drastically. And it was at this point that employees started questioning their future, or even the future of California Casualty. Since Joe Volpone, there have been two additional CEOs. Their tenure there, their longevity there was 1 to 2 years before they stepped down and gave it to another person. It's just, they had no idea what to do with the company. They had no idea what to do with the company. Employee turnout was significant. We had a hiring class every 3 months. We went from under Bo Brown having a hiring class maybe once or twice a year to every 3 months. And we're putting them in training for 2 weeks. We're throwing them out on the floor. They don't know what they're doing on the floor. Customers are getting frustrated. It was just really poor leadership. The communication with the employees lacked. I ended up leaving the company in 2022. In 2022 is when they started doing their layoffs. And that's when people got really worried. They laid off Daphne Pavone. She oversaw all of customer service. So she was like a CEO over customer service. They laid her off, which had everybody like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And they never replaced her position. There was nobody. There was no CEO over customer service anymore. They put it into the hands of the 2 customer service managers in Arizona. So we didn't have great leadership in that aspect because the 2 managers had never run an entire service center, had no idea what they were doing. They went from being great leaders to all of a sudden there's poor leadership, which was discussed in my paper. When you work for a poor leader, your work is going to be poor. So leaders who work under poor leadership, it's called the social contagion. When you work for somebody who is a bad leader, you yourself might become a bad leader. If you hang out with people who smoke cigarettes, you're likely to smoke cigarettes. If all of your friends are getting divorced, you might be more likely to get divorced. The same thing goes for leadership. And Cheryl O'Connor was my leader, and she went from being an amazing leader to neglectful, unpersonable, micromanaging her employees. It got to the point where I was crying every day on my way to work. I did leave the company in 2020 to pursue my teaching my teaching career. And I stayed with the company though and worked on the weekends. Well, in 2022, Daphne Pavone was laid off. And in November 2022, Cheryl O'Connor, my direct supervisor, was laid off. And I did not want to work under any other leadership than Cheryl. I understood that she was a micromanager and she was just doing what she was told to do by her leadership. But when they let her go, I walked into the office building a week later, turned in my badge, and I terminated my own relationship with the company. Currently, they are now only insuring in 7 states. And the reason for this is because the other 40 states were considered high risk factors. You've got states like Louisiana who have a high poverty line, so they got very tricky as far as they got very smart as far as insurance fraud. So they pulled out of states that they felt they were actually losing money in. They were more red than they were green. So now they only insure in 7 states, which of course that has led to a downfall in their annual net worth. And now they are closing down the office buildings. They are sending everybody home to work from home, which is very surprising because during COVID, they were very anti-working from home. They felt like employees did their best when they were in an office surrounded by other employees who were doing the same job. It was really a way for them to micromanage us. To now all of a sudden, we don't have the money for an office building. We will send you home with your desk and your computer and you can work from home. I still have coworkers who work for the company. They are not happy with the company and they themselves are seeking other employment. So poor leadership in the company once Bo Brown stepped down has really led to the downfall of California Casualty. And myself and my old coworkers do not expect the company to last another 5 years.